Okay, today we are on the last chapter, chapter 10, the big surprise ending. And my daughter Bree is in here and she's going to listen and help me turn the pages today. The next morning, Mr. Cooper came running into our classroom. He told us he was Lava Man and he taught us all about volcanoes. Then he ran out of the room and came back as Weatherman. He taught us all about meteorology. Then he ran out of the room and came back as Electric Man. Okay, turn the page. He taught us all about electricity. It's fun to learn stuff from a superhero, whether he's a real superhero or not. At recess, Mr. Cooper and Mrs. Rupee were the teachers on duty. We were all on the swings minding our own business when the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. "Look, up in the sky!" yelled Andrea. "It's a bird!" yelled Emily. "It's a plane!" yelled Alexia. "No, it's a spaceship!" yelled Ryan. Ryan was right. It was a spaceship. In fact, it looked just like the Mr. Granite spaceship, and it was coming down right over the playground. "The Granites are back!" shouted Michael. "I'm scared," said Emily, who is scared of everything. "They're going to take over the world and turn us into flesh-eating robots," I shouted. "They're going to turn us into killer, zombie, robot slaves," shouted Michael. "Run for your lives!" shouted Neil. Everybody was freaking out. What could the Mr. Granites possibly want this time? "If only there was a real superhero to save us," said Andrea. Turn the page, Bree. See. Andrea looked at Mr. Cooper. Ryan looked at Mr. Cooper. Michael looked at Mr. Cooper. Alexia looked at Mr. Cooper. In case you were wondering, everybody was looking at Mr. Cooper. "Leave it to me," Mr. Cooper announced, taking a step forward. "I am Cooperman." Oh no, I thought, we're done for. Smoke poured out of the spaceship. Colored lights were flashing. There was a weird humming sound. The spaceship touched down in the middle of the playground. All the smoke and lights and humming stopped. Then the ramp slid down from the bottom of the spaceship. "Stand back, everyone," said Mr. Cooper. "I'll handle this." Mr. Cooper walked over to the end of the ramp. Turn the page, Bree. The door to the spaceship opened. We were all on pins and needles. Well, not really. We were standing up. If we were on pins and needles, it would have hurt. But you should have been there. Electricity was in the air. Well, not exactly. If there was electricity in the air, all of us would have been electrocuted. But it was really exciting. Mr. Granite came out of the spaceship and down the ramp. Well, I think it was Mr. Granite. It could have been one of the other Mr. Granites. It could have been anybody from the planet Etanarg. They all look alike. In any case, one of those creatures that looked just like Mr. Granite came down the ramp. "Greetings, Earthling," said the Mr. Granite lookalike. "Who are you?" "I am the new third-grade teacher at elementary school," said Mr. Cooper. "Did you come back to destroy the Earth?" "No." "Did you come back to take over the world and turn us into flesh-eating robots?" asked Mr. Cooper. "No." "Did you come to turn us into killer, zombie, robot slaves?" Mr. Cooper asked. "No." "Then why did you come back to Earth?" Turn the page, please. "When I left the other day," said Mr. Granite, "I forgot to give back my key to the teacher's lounge. When you borrow something, you should always return it." "Like library books," yelled Mrs. Rupee. Wow, Mr. Granite traveled 1,000,000 light years just to bring back the key to the teacher's lounge. That was weird. Mr. Granite handed Mr. Cooper the key. "Thank you," said Mr. Cooper. "Now I don't have to eat my lunch in the classroom anymore." Mr. Granite turned around and went back up the ramp into the spaceship. The door closed behind him. We all breathed a sigh of relief. I felt like this called for a celebration. "Mr. Cooper saved the Earth!" I shouted, jumping up and down. "Hooray for Mr. Cooper! Hooray for Mr. Cooper! Hooray for Mr. Cooper!" I figured everybody was going to jump up and down chanting, "Hooray for Mr. Cooper!" with me. I turned around. Nobody else was jumping up and down. Nobody else was chanting. Everybody was looking at me. I hate when that happens. I stopped chanting. Smoke poured out of the spaceship. Colored lights were flashing. There was a weird humming sound. Then the window of the spaceship opened. "Goodbye again!" Mr. Granite yelled out to us. "Goodbye, Mr. Granite!" we all yelled. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The spaceship lifted off. It zoomed to the left. It zipped to the right. And then it was gone forever. Well, that's pretty much what happened. Maybe another spaceship will land in the playground someday. Maybe Mr. Granite will grow some hair out of his ears. Maybe cops will start using the doorknob instead of kicking down doors all the time. Maybe they'll come up with some different names for the people who live on planet Etanarg. Maybe the aliens will come back and turn us into flesh-eating robots. Maybe Mr. Klutz will learn what a joke is. Maybe grown-ups will stop saying they're stuck in traffic all the time. Maybe cows will stop bumping into spaceships. Maybe regular people will start wearing capes. Maybe aliens will stop peeling their faces off all the time. Maybe Mr. Cooper will use his heat vision to cook hot dogs with his eyes. Maybe a pink elephant wearing a tutu will come into our classroom and sing John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. Maybe Wilbur the rat will come visit our classroom again. Maybe Mrs. Rupee will admit that she's really super librarian. Maybe Andrea will stop complaining about violins. Maybe our real teacher will escape from the burning barn. Maybe I will give back Michael's football. Maybe Mr. Cooper will stop running into doors, falling down, and being such a doofus. But it won't be easy. Okay. Well, that, my friends, is the end of that story. So next time we will pick up with a new story. So have a good weekend, and I will read to you soon.